So I just got done snapping about my thoughts about Evangelion coming out tonight on Netflix. It was kind of long-winded, so I was just going to give a summation of it basically on IG. But this is basically how you should watch the Evangelion series, because it might be a little confusing because there's 6 movies at this point. 2 are kind of alternate reality or like alternate endings to it. There's about 4 different director's cuts to the entire show. So it might be a little confusing, but I think Netflix simplified it a little bit, even though they're not the true versions of what originally aired back in 1995. But I think, well, I have them all, so I'll try to explain like exactly how you should watch them. So this is how it should work. You should definitely watch the first 26 episode run on Netflix, even though it's kind of different. That'll get you into the baseline of what you're trying to experience with Evangelion. After that, you should watch the 2 movies that came out. But there is a little bit of, discrepancy or something like that, because it's confusing, because why they have 2 movies out there. What you're getting with the original 26 series in Netflix, these are basically all the episodes. This is the last time Eva was in print in North America. So it has everything original up until these 2 DVDs. These 2 last DVDs, they include the director's cut, which will probably be in the Netflix version. Then after that, the movies. The first one is Death and Rebirth. This one came right after the series because they're older movie, but basically this is a synopsis of episodes 20 or from 1 to 26. If people just tell you just watch this and you'll be fine, don't do it, because you're sorely missing out on a lot of stuff that happens and the context in which it happens within the show. After that, the one that everyone always talks about and gets depressed afterwards is End of Evangelion, which is an amazing epoch, spelled EPOCH. It is super depressing, but also hopeful on like how humanity is portrayed at the end of it. Then, if you look on Amazon, if you see these movies, these are basically the remake movies. So this is 1.11. This is the second movie, and this is the third one. The fourth one's supposed to be coming out in 2020. But these are completely different than the original 26 episode series and the 2 movies. Like, well, this is pretty much the same, because this is a remake of episodes 1 through 6, but then it heavily deviates from this movie onwards. Like, there's a completely almost alternate reality that happens once you get to these 2 movies. They're good. It's just, if you're an Evangelion purist, you'll probably hate it. I like them. That's fine. This one in particular, episode 6, is the fight with the angel Ramiel, which already in the original show was super sick. But once you get to this one, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good since it's updated visually, and it looks so freaking good. Like, the weight and the powerfulness of modern anime editing is really good for that. I don't know if these are officially canon, but or remade, but these are, like, for most Eva nerds and the Eva community, we consider this like just alternate reality at this point. This one is the branch, then they just totally go off the rails with this one, and it's completely different. After that, if you're still like interested in Evangelion, there were, well, between the original series and then the remake movies, there was about like 10-year gap. So to fill that was the manga that came out by Yoshiyuki Sadamoto, and this was actually really good. If you ever get to find these are really well done, because the artwork is really nice, and they actually, since it's a manga, you read through it, it takes a little bit more time than a TV show. They flesh out the characters a lot more. Shinji's not a little bitch in this one. Also, the debut of Asuka is actually really well done. Asuka's debut in the first show was really good. In the remake, it's kind of meh, but in the manga, it makes complete sense for her character, how it's well done. Same thing with Shinji. Shinji has more of a backbone this time. So, long story short, watch the original series if you really, really like it. Then you can move on to these guys, and if you still really want to stick with the show, watch these things. Other than that, these 2 aren't really much of a requirement. But these should be, because of what they brought to the table in terms of anime and filmmaking in general. And to get an idea of what I'm talking about is because the reason why Evangelion is so revered and it's still like a classic and it's still rewatchable to this day is because at the time in the 90s, there wasn't anything like this, like in terms of visual fidelity, the way it's animated, the religious iconography and mythology behind it. There was nothing like that as far as an original IP. Most anime or whatever, first like Transformers, for instance, started out as a toy line or like a manga, and then it got translated into a show. This one was just like on its own, and like Studio Gainax and the creator Hideaki Anno, like they had like one shot to do this, and they freaking hit it like straight out of the gates. Kind of spoiled nowadays with a lot of like the way that they produce movies and TV shows. They're really high quality nowadays, but back in the day it was really rare to find that. And there's so many worlds and universes nowadays that you could get lost in, but this was the one few of the rare ones that not only could get lost in, but it's a very open interpretive kind of way to watch this show. Like, you could watch it in different times of your life and it'll mean something completely different in those times. Like, the reason why Evangelion's been around for so long is because it's very introspective, meaning that when you watch it, what you take away from it means it's complete and unique to you. And I mean, yeah, it's a show about like robots and like sexy anime girls, but like there's also a very deep meaning behind the show that you get every time you watch it. Like, so on multiple views through it, like you get a crazy appreciation about the human self and the human psyche and the frailty of humanity through it, which is really weird because it's a fucking anime. Like, it's like a lasting piece of art. The closest I could probably get to is probably like a Shelby Pollock painting or a Van Gogh painting, a Vincent Van Gogh, because like what they were doing technically when they made those paintings, they look super simple. They look like something you could make or I could make whenever we wanted to. But the reason why they're such works of art is because of the context, the meaning, the feeling, the personality behind it. And that was the same thing with Hideaki Anno, the creator of Evangelion. He was depressed at the time, and he had huge issues with working with others. And so when he made this, it was basically an outlet for his human, his mental illness, and trying to get above that and trying to become a better person. And so it shows, like, the show is severely affected by his depression during the end of the series, like around like episode 25, 24, something like that. It takes a huge dip in, not quality, but like narrative. And then you could also see it in the end of Evangelion movie itself. That to me is what makes like Evangelion special. It's exactly like those Van Gogh paintings or whatnot. It's like nowadays a lot of people could reproduce that style of painting or that way of painting, but the story, the context, the person behind it, that's the masterpiece. The pain and the suffering that goes on in the series, and how you could relate that to real life, which is incredible. It was an incredible feeling when I first thought about it. Anyway, I'm just a huge nerd, and thanks for listening to this. I'm just really excited to hear what people think about the show, something that I've loved for over 20 years now. And I hope this gives a little context about it, because I mean, it's an older show. It's really hard to say the same thing about a show that you've loved for so long and then show it to someone and then they think it's like, it's nothing. It's just, we see it every day nowadays. It's common. But back in '95, there was nothing like it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. If you need any help explaining like anything, like AT Fields or the Human Instrumentality Project or anything like that, if you're confused about all that stuff, hit me up. I could actually... I have a good knowledge. I have like 2 Twitter accounts devoted to Ava, so I could kind of explain things if you're really confused, because Ava is very open-ended, and I mean, nothing is literal. I mean, things are literal in it, but there's a lot of layers and a lot of tiers to this crazy cake that they made back in the day. So yeah, you could always ask me any questions if you have any about it. Like, I don't think I'll ever go into this in depth about another TV show ever again. So yeah, just letting you know. And the picture of Asuka that you've been looking at, if you're wondering where I got that from, I actually drew that back in high school. I'm talking about this one right here. Oh, let me put it back. Yeah, I drew this back in high school, I think senior year, and this is all color pencil at the time, because that's the medium I like to use. Painting is too messy to me. But yeah, I'm a big nerd, obviously, compared to all this shit. Like, look at this. I got 2 art books from back in the day, and then I got New Type magazine when they were talking about the remakes. And yeah, So yeah, if you need a reference for any help of the terms of the show or whatever, you know who to talk to.